Kayleigh. I'm with 34sp.com. I'm a WordPress support specialist, and today I just wanted to talk about galleries and image optimization. I'm doing more of a talk as a user at first, just because I quite like using WordPress for galleries and displaying images and things like that. So I just wanted to talk about a few of the plugins that I quite like. So, first things that I like to consider when I'm looking at a gallery plugin. I like to check the rating on the WordPress repository. That's probably the main thing I do, because there's so many plugins out there, you want to make sure you get one with a decent rating. Important to check the last time it was updated, of course, because you don't want one that's not been updated in the past year. It might not be very secure. Features, ease of use, and importantly, speed impact, but we'll be talking more on that when I go into the optimization part of the talk. I'm going to be talking about 3 gallery plugins, and what I've done is I've just set up a quick test website just so I can show you the 3 gallery plugins that I particularly like, why I like them, and what they look like when you set them up. So this is my quick test website. It's just basic WordPress out of the box. I've put a nice clean theme on because I don't want anything taking away attention from my gallery. So first plugin I'm going to talk about is one probably most people have heard of who've ever created a gallery WordPress website. Next Gen Gallery is probably the most popular gallery plugin because it's got over 1 million downloads. Out of the box it looks quite nice. This is just installed the plugin, put a few images of cats up there because it's the internet. And yeah, that it looks quite nice without me making any changes to it. Some of the features on Next Gen, there are a lot of features on Next Gen Gallery. These are only a few of them. Features I particularly like in Next Gen are you can create multiple galleries, manage them all within the plugin, so all your images are nice and organised. I like being able to create custom thumbnails because if you can't create your own thumbnails, sometimes it'll crop to a really weird part of the image. Shortcodes so you can put them anywhere. It has a really good watermarking feature, which not a lot of plugins have, because if you don't want people stealing your images, it'll just print a nice little watermark on there for you. And it's got loads of widgets available. It's got slider functions, and it's got premium functions as well if you wish to pay for a bit extra. But to be honest, it's got so many features, I'm not sure how much more you would need. Just a few of the settings pages there for you. The only cons, I would say, because I'm giving you some cons to some of these plugins as well. The only cons with Next Gen Gallery I seem to find is I think it's sometimes a bit more than anyone needs. Unless you plan on doing a lot with your images, you'll find that there's a bit too much to do in there, because I just like to display pictures and I don't need all these fancy different galleries and widgets and all that stuff. But it is very good regardless. I quite like some galleries allow you to edit their styles with CSS. I'm not aware of anywhere in Next Gen that you can do it. I don't know if you can in the premium version, but I do like that. That's why I sometimes choose other gallery plugins over Next Gen. Another one that I've tried, and this one I find is quite nice if you're just looking for something really basic. It's Enviro, which has got over 70,000 downloads, so it's quite popular. Out of the box, it looks alright. Some of these images I probably would crop so they match a bit more, but could definitely be worse. I think it looks quite nice and clean. The thing I really like about Enviro is it's really user-friendly, more so than Next Gen. You have one page with all your settings on, all your gallery settings there. You can set your thumbnail sizes. It's really easy to manage. You can edit the titles and metadata in one page for each gallery, which is quite handy if you care about your SEO quite a lot. It does have a lot of premium add-ons, which we'll go to because that's listed as one of our cons. It is a really nice basic plugin, but most of the additional features for it you do need to pay for premium. So if you do find that you really like Enviro, you can upgrade, and there is more that it can do for you. Somewhere in the middle, and this is personally probably my favourite gallery plugin, is Foo Gallery. This has quite a nice clean layout out of the box. Not really done much to it there. It does have an option to create images that look very similar to the ones with NextGen. So if you quite liked that first look, it does that as well. This one's got still quite a lot of features, but it doesn't have quite as many as NextGen, so I find this is probably a better plugin for myself personally. Can create multiple gallery styles. You can add your custom CSS, which I quite like. It's got an importer for NextGen, so if you've created all your galleries on NextGen, think it's a bit much, you can import it into Foo Gallery if you wish to. And you can create your custom thumbnails, and that basically has everything I usually use. Just some more settings. The only thing that did bother me about Foo Gallery when I used it was it didn't have a lightbox feature. You know, when you click on an image on a website and it pops up in a nice bright box. That's usually due to a lightbox, and you can just install another plugin for a lightbox if you wish. So it is something you can get around, but that's the only real con there. And it didn't have a quick, easy to edit title and metadata field. You can go in and click the individual images, but this one didn't have options to do it nice and quickly on one page. What I ended up doing after I've been through a whole bunch of gallery plugins, and I ended up actually not using any of them, because I don't know if anybody's ever been in the actual default WordPress galleries, but they're really good. So I'm just going to talk about them because you can do just as much within the actual WordPress install without actually downloading a plugin. This is a WordPress gallery, no plugins installed whatsoever, straight out of the box, and I think that looks quite good compared to some of the other plugins that I've seen around. Good features of the default WordPress install gallery. It's not a plugin, so there's no funny potential for funny code. It's all out of the box, quite nice. It's easy to create the galleries during post making, so when you're creating a post you can just create a gallery there on the fly. You can add your SEO in the boxes as you create it. It does have different gallery styles. It doesn't have loads, but there are things that you can do to get around that. And you can create your custom thumbnails, so none of your thumbnails will look too weird if you go through and do them all. Can also extend on the WordPress gallery. So this is a plugin, but all it does is add extra features to the existing WordPress galleries. So WP Canvas, and that's my options when I edit my gallery within WordPress without any plugins. When I add WP Canvas, you'll see I get a whole bunch more here. It's got more display options, more galleries. I can create some new space. It does spacing and things like that, and different hover effects. It just extends what is already there, which is quite nice and light, I find. The only downside I find with the WordPress galleries, which is what I use the most, is that you don't have anywhere you can manage your different galleries. You've got to go into your post and edit the gallery within there. But how I get around that is I use the Jetpack plugin, and it has a custom post type for portfolios. And it just basically, you activate Jetpack, connect to WordPress.com, and then when you've connected it, if you go into settings and then writing, there's a little tick box for enable portfolio projects, and it adds a custom post type for it. And I really like this feature because a lot of themes specifically support that. You can install it on anything and it'll look quite nice, but certain themes make portfolios from Jetpack look really nice. This is an example of a theme I've used with it before called Virtue, and this is just the default projects page which the portfolio custom post types creates. So within these posts I've got my different WordPress galleries, and I can just arrange them that way under the portfolios, and I always think it looks quite nice. So after you've created your website, you've chose your gallery plugin that you like, you want to consider image optimization, because if you've got a website with a lot of images, it can get a bit slow. So, first off, there's some plugins you can install to help optimize your images. Popular ones are WP Smush, which compresses your images for you, and probably the one I've seen the most is the Image Optimizer. which automatically optimizes them as you upload them. But there's also options to bulk optimize your plugins, your images as you go, which I'll show you now. So I've just installed the Image Optimizer plugin on my site. I'm going to go down to Settings, click on the plugin. I've not optimized any of my images so far, because that's quite bad. Just going to go through some of the options. There's loads of options here these are all options for when you, before you upload your images and what it'll do as part of the upload process. But I'm going to use the Bulk Optimize tool for those images that I've already got in there. Just scan for the unoptimized images. And that's just going to go through my images. I've got 298 images on my site, which doesn't seem like a lot for some people, it might for others. But I just click Bulk Optimize and it's going to go through all of them and try and compress them for me. And hopefully make my site super, super fast. And it doesn't take too long either. I find this is quite fast for 298 images. And yeah, there we go. It's optimized all of those for me now. So hopefully I've got a bit of a faster site. The only problem with using a plugin to optimize your images is it uses a lot of your WordPress memory. So it's a lot better if you can help WordPress with the load. So do some of the optimizing yourself. There's things you can do before you upload the image, so you can do some resizing on your own computer. Hopefully nobody's uploading bitmap images to the website because they're not very friendly. PNG and JPEG seem to be a lot faster. Good hosting is important if you've got an image heavy website, because say you're on shared hosting and you're hogging all the resources, you're going to find that it's going to slow down an awful lot. So try and get some good containerized hosting. It's definitely worth the extra money for an image heavy website. And a simplistic theme, obviously, because you've got all this bulk with your images, you don't want your theme on top of that as well, causing you a lot of trouble. There's also things your host can do. Most hosts by default will allow gzip compression, which just helps with the upload of your images. You can usually activate it in your htaccess file, but it's just there by default for quite a lot. You should also set a suitable WP memory limit. The reason I say suitable is because you get a lot of plugins and themes which say you need to set it to this crazy high number, and a lot of the time they don't actually use that much memory. So it's always best maybe ask your host for what a suitable memory limit is, because you don't want to set it to anything too crazy, but at the same time you don't want it to have hardly any memory to it. You can also use a CDN such as Cloudflare, which will cache the page for you and serve the images via that, which speeds it up an awful lot. So that's some ways you can optimize it. Oh, giving us another one. Sorry, it's just going back. There we go. Right. Some server-side tools, which you can, if you've got server-side access, you can use things like PNG Quaint, which reduces PNG file size. Moz JPEG does the same for JPGs. There's something that you can install if you have that level of access. If you don't have that level of access, there's other tools you can use. Tiny PNG compresses files and preserves the transparency for them, and that's just a website you can go to, upload the image, and it'll compress it for you. That's quite a handy one to use. Adobe Bridge is also in there. That's more of something you can do on your computer before you upload the image. It's got a bulk tool to mass resize your images. So if you've just done a big photography project, you can resize all your images quite nicely using that. And finally, so you've optimized all your images. Maybe you're not sure if it's done too much because your site is probably usually pretty fast, which I hope is the case. But you can use tools like webpagetest.org, which is a website you can go to, and it'll grade your website. My gallery website, as you can see, got all A's, which is great. That was with the WordPress gallery as well, so just to say how good the default galleries are as they are, they're quite optimized and speedy. Google PageSpeed is another popular one, and GT Metrics is also pretty good. They'll all give you feedback on what's slowing down your website, if anything is slowing it down. And yeah, we use those tools quite a lot to advise people on how to speed up the website. And yeah, I think that's everything. Any questions? Oh, Tim, yes.
Where can I find cat gifts? A slightly more serious question. When do you think it's better to use a PNG versus a JPEG? Because I know loads of people upload JPEGs and think, yay, and they're obviously quite big.
Personally, I tend to use JPEGs for larger images, and I use PNGs for images with transparency. I hope that's the answer you're looking for. Yeah?
Do you use, or no, you probably do know, something that you can use in the back end if you've got lots of images but not in a gallery, just spread out on different pages? I find that if there's a lot of images and then you're trying to find something in particular and they're not named properly, then it's a disaster to try to figure out what's where. So, like some kind of folder system.
Yeah, with the first plugin I said, Next Gen Gallery, you can organize the images and name them, and you can do all that on a. Say you upload a gallery of 10 images, it'll give you those 10 images on a page. You can edit all the titles. It's got a nice drag and drop organizer as well. It's quite good for organizing images.
Alright.
See?
What difference does scaling images make on optimization? In terms of the size of the images?
It's more to do with the speed of upload, because most of what we've been through will optimize it after it's been on. But if you're uploading, my point was, if you do a big photography project with lots of photos which are like 4,000 pixels wide, do you really need to upload a 4,000 pixel wide image? Most monitors aren't that huge. So you can do a bit just to take some load off it before you even go through serving it to the client. Go on.
One of your slides mentioned a reduction of up to 70%.
Yeah.
I use Smush, but that only reduces the size by about 3% or 4%.
Right.
Is there any way of either increasing the percentage that Smush will reduce it by?
I'm not aware of one, not without having a hacky play with the plugin. I don't think you could, unfortunately.
It sounds like they might already be quite well optimised before they get to Smush.
Yeah.
So that might be the case, that they're fairly well optimised depending on what tool you're using on the desktop. The thing with the PNGs though is that PNGs can have a lot of redundant space, even though they normally are zipped internally. So most your JPEGs is what a lot of people use. That you wouldn't get that kind of percentage anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a feature way back that Photoshop used on JPEGs, which was called dual layer compression, and I've yet to find anything server side that does that. Which is when you compress a JPEG, anything pictorial can be artifacted to a really tiny, but anything that's text-based, if it's on a different layer coming out of Photoshop, can retain a different level of compression, so your text stays crisp while the image gets optimized. Is there anything server-side or web-based that does that that's not old Photoshop?
I'm not aware of anything, but that's a really good question. I probably have a dig around for something like
been
that.
supported in JPEGs for years, but it just seems to have been lost in the noise.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some really esoteric image magic command line options that you can use at the server level, but it's not for the average user. You kind of want something wrapping around it.
Yeah, I used to use it all the time, but now that bandwidths are bigger and things are bigger, don't need to compress it as much. But every now and then I'll come across a JPEG where the text is really batty.
Yeah.